With us now in the studio is Rich Tafel. He's a career coach, essentially, in Northwest Washington.
Yes.
Nice of you to join us.
Great to be here.
Now, Rich, would you advise people to take the tack that Hassan has taken here?
Well, if he was my client, I'd say there's a lot of great elements to that story, and there's some things I would definitely want to work with him on. The great part is tapping into what you're passionate about, and that's actually very hard. He's clear what he's passionate about. A lot of people aren't, so that's a challenge for people to find out what they really love, and I believe we are essentially what we love. So that part I agree with, but marrying it up to what you're uniquely good at, what your strengths are. Some people think they can just say, this is my passion, and the world will accept it. Getting a reality check on what your unique strengths are and putting the two together, and then doing a plan, literally a business plan, and I felt like that might be the missing part here. And the sad part of this story could be you start with, you understand your passion, you kind of throw it to the universe, the world, you're sure that the world's going to recognize it. It may not, and you may become very bitter about this whole process and say, wow, this just proves that you can't really do what you love in life. You've got to do what pays. And that would be the wrong message. So that's the part where I think he might be careening toward right now.
And it sounds like Hassan actually had a support network. He had $100,000 to put into his singing. Not everybody has that.
Probably nobody listening is thinking to themselves, well, if I had $100,000, I think I might. But that actually might have enabled some bad thinking along the way, because it didn't force him to ask the tough questions about, what am I uniquely good at? And when you're willing to pay $100,000 toward your passion, whatever your passion is, there's someone who will take that money without asking what your strengths are, as opposed to if you're looking for a little equality in that relationship along the way, you'll get people to say, well, you know, your singing isn't so great. Or how about an investor along the way? Do you really believe in my voice? Do you believe in my guitar? If you do, will you invest with me along the process? Interesting, in his life, he's great at finance and he's passionate for music. There's a whole industry of people who make very good money supporting people who do music, and that might be another way of marrying it together. But right now they're sort of separated, and I think that might be a challenge for him.
Okay, Hassan, so if you're out there listening, how is business for you these days? I mean, are people just flooding to you for career counseling?
Business is very good. I think it has very little to do with the economy. I think it just happens to be that I have a good marketing plan and I have good references. What is different is a lot of people are coming to me in crisis. So I actually created like a YouTube strategy memo I do each week where I answer a question that anybody can ask for free. It goes up on YouTube. I mail it out to people. That's my way of kind of contributing to the economy, because I'm flooded with people who can't pay me. They've waited and they're in the reactive mode. We might say Hassan might get to that mode. He's decided to take a job. He's there. Some people aren't, and they're kind of caught, and they're not in a position to do much of anything. And frankly, my coaching there is usually around fear. I have to get them enough oxygen in their thinking to even be strategic about their life again. They're in a sort of panic mode. So that's where I end up, unfortunately, in a reactive sense. My clients, fortunately, are in proactive mode. They can dream. They can be passionate. We can put a plan to it because they're looking forward. And I always say, if you're going to start a new career, do it while you're at your old job first.
Can we talk a little bit about transferable skills? Do you help people identify them? Is that something that's a thread for making that jump if people want to?
Absolutely. What's so interesting about working with clients is, one, they've been told their whole life that they have hobbies and they have jobs. And jobs are practical and they pay you, but hobbies are what you really love. So don't even think about that. So just letting them get in touch with what they're passionate about is a really difficult exercise. But also people's strengths. All of us, what we're really good at, we're not usually aware of, because we do it so naturally. I actually have to get clients outside themselves to find out what they do uniquely well. And they say, well, that's not valuable. That's not really important. Anybody can do that. And I say, no, actually, you're totally unique at that. That's the value proposition in the marketplace. And this is how it ties to money and a job. My clients usually end up being paid more after working with me, but we never start talking about money. I start talking about, what are you passionate about? What are you uniquely good at? If you're in this earth for a purpose, what is that purpose? What do you want to say when you pass from this earth that you did? When they get clear on that, interestingly, the money follows, because they're very clear what their value is to the world. But that's the trickiest part. And then the transferable skills, very often they've been hidden within themselves. These great talents they have, they're kind of hidden. They don't even think they're valuable.
And they can use them in different areas all around life.
Absolutely, and marrying them up is really awesome. Taking what you're really passionate about and marrying it up to what your unique strengths are in the whole world. And I say to people, what are you in Washington? What are you uniquely good at that nobody else in Washington could do? And they first say, well, there's nothing. There's always somebody in Washington who could do better than me. And after prodding that, there's a unique thing. And then taking that, marrying that to the passion, the thing they love, you get this unique thing, and they say, wow, that I could do that, and that could pay me a lot of money. And it's sort of a shocking experience, because for us, money's associated with doing what you don't like.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it really is. I think if you think back to it, how many of us in school wanted to be artists or drama or professional athletes or all these things, and we were told our whole life, nope, you can't do it. And I think of all the fields I found, the legal field, lawyers, seem to be full of artists and creative people, and who were told at some point, you're creative, you like people, the only way to make money at that is to be a lawyer. So there's a lot of law firms full of people who have a lot of creative ability.
What do you tell people who want to kind of just jump into a whole other field? Where should they start looking at themselves or their skills?
Well, I think spending some time with yourself, that's the hardest thing. When people are looking for a job, they always come to me for tactics. How do I write my resume? How do I do the interview? Where do I apply? What websites? And I can help people with that. That's tactics. But I really do beg them, I insist if they're working with me, to focus on themselves and get really clear on who they are. Again, what do you really love to do? What are your strengths? Getting clear on that first, starting there, then you can go to tactics. But until you're clear, you can't really do it. The other problem is when people are looking for a job, very often they just go to their network or friends and say, I'm looking for a job, can you help? You're being totally unhelpful to your network because you haven't figured out what you want. And very often I ask clients to write the job description of the job they want. In that process, people reinvent themselves very often. And the challenge there is writing a business model, the steps to get there. And it can be done in most cases because they reinvent a job that is much more natural for them. And then it's just a matter of sort of, someone said, building sandcastles in the sky and then building the foundation below that sandcastle.
Did you write your own job description?
Well, I'm in a unique position in my whole life. I've never had a job that existed before I had it. So I've reinvented myself at every turn. I've just said, what am I passionate about at this point in my life? There's some common threads. I believe in social justice and world change and those sort of things and being useful. I come from a religious background, so there's a spiritual aspect to what I do. These are very important to me. Those are my core principles. Now, how they play out in my life would be at different phases of my life. But each time I ask myself, now, what do I really want to do to help people now?
Why do you think we're so divorced from the things that we really love?
I think we're really taught at a young age that there's hobbies, things that you love to do, and there's really great ways to make money. And I think we're getting a lot of advice from our parents and our grandparents that lived in a different time. And it's hard to believe, but it's true, that if you really tap into what you love and what you're good at, it pays. That's a very hard thing to believe. And my clients, say to me, you got to be crazy. You're a hard-nosed, Rich. Be practical with me. I say, I will be absolutely practical when we write your plan. But we can't really create a plan until you know really where you want to go.
Rich, thanks so much for coming in today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks.
Rich Tafel is a career coach in Northwest Washington.